Hello and welcome to video episode 2, whatever we're going to call it, of the custom base series. In this video, we're continuing the designing basically, so let's go. Right, firstly, thank you very much for all of your suggestions in the previous video. You have come up with some great ideas, so I'll cover them in this video because you know, a lot of you really like the design. You didn't have much to say about that. It was just little pointers within it which yeah, are going to help me massively. So admittedly I haven't had a lot of time to work on the base design this week because I've just got, you know, I've got lots of other things going on, as is the usual, if that even makes sense. But I've got some stuff on paper here and I've got a pretty firm idea of what I want to establish or cover in this episode. So yeah. Let's see what we got here. So the first thing I did was go on a website called FretFind 2D. Now this is something that I used when doing my previous base because it allows you to work out the different scale lengths of the neck, whether you want to do a longer neck with different amounts of strings, fan frets, different offs. You can do all sorts on there and it does all the mathematics for you. So yeah, I used this on my previous base, but thank you to those who left comments in the comment section recommending it because it's a great bit of software. So I plugged in the scale lengths that I wanted on that and basically I just copied them from a Ibanez model that I quite like the look of. So on this one, the longest scale length on the thicker string is going to be 905 and the shortest scale length in the thinnest string is going to be 855, so we've got that taper. And then what I did is saved it as a DXF file and then imported it into AutoCAD. Then what I did is import a picture of a wall base, which is what I'm basing the design of this guitar around because I absolutely love that body shape. Can't really see much that I want to change about it. Like, I like the shape of the headstock and things like that. The only thing I did do was sort of make a few tweaks around this back edge here and make it slightly rounder. And changed this lower horn a little bit so it's a bit less stubby than that one up there. So I ended up with this body shape. Then what I did is scaled that up in order to fit onto the neck that I had here, and voila, there is my bass guitar. So one thing that a commenter mentioned in the previous video, which I knew about in the previous bass but I completely forgot in this one, but it's to do with how top heavy the guitar is. Obviously the headstock up here is going to add a certain amount of weight, and if you're trying to play, it creates quite a lot of effort trying to keep the neck upright rather than it diving down if that headstock's too heavy. So one thing you can do to counteract that is when you add a strap to the guitar, obviously it's going to be anchored up here and down here, and they said that if you have this anchor point somewhere around the 12th fret, which is this one here, so that 12th is halfway between there and there. If you have it somewhere around the 12th fret, that will generally stop it from being too top heavy, which is what I did on my previous one, and it's worked out pretty nice considering that thing weighs as much as a collapsed star. So when I was working out the fretboard on here, I could also choose which fret I wanted to be perpendicular to the centre line of the neck. So on this first drawing here, you can see that they're all fanned out apart from this one here, which happens to be the 12th fret. However, looking at that, I realised what it was doing to the first fret, and I can see that it is quite skewed over. If I draw a line up from the bottom here and then do a line across from that, I've only got 20mm there. So if I get to my other guitar, I'll try not to hit my computer screen while I do this. So if that fret is too fanned out this way, what I don't want is for that nut to be too skewed in so that my finger hits it at the bottom before I'm properly able to play a note on that top fret. Ideally I want it to be skewed, but not so much that I'm having to butt my finger up against it and then try and twist a bit further. So a way to counteract that, if we go back to the computer, is instead of making the 12th fret perpendicular, I made the 10th fret, so you can see 12th on there. The 10th fret is now perpendicular, and up on here we established that if I draw a line up from the bottom of the nut and across, it's 20mm. Just by changing that fret back a little bit, if I now draw one up from there, I've now got 26mm. So, you know, an extra 5mm just from changing it 2 frets along. I think that was pretty worth it. So that's pretty good. I'm quite happy with that scale length. I like the way it looks. So then what I did is copied everything there and then put it on a bit of paper 8 times and then printed all of them off. And that is what I have got here. And this is pretty much me just establishing what pattern I actually want the cracks to be, because originally I planned for them to go right through the body. However, I'm kind of reverting back on that now and sort of thinking maybe less is more, like sort of doing something similar to what I've done on my previous base, where the cracks are very prominent but they don't necessarily go through the entire body, because that way I'm not relying solely on the pipes to hold the base together. I've got a little bit of gluing surface between as well. Also on the pipes, a lot of you mentioned about copper being very soft. You're completely correct. I didn't even think of that, so thank you for pointing that out. Apparently that's something that Ben Crow faced when he was doing his guitar. So yeah, some of you mentioned about gilding steel rods with copper leaf, which would work quite well. And then another friend mentioned why not just use brass rods for it, because you can't really get copper coloured hardware, and having copper, brass, and just all these different colours going on, it might be quite over the top. If I can marry it all together with one material, then that'd be ideal. So chances are I'm going to change those bars to a brass effect, but I'll do a render and see how it looks. So anyway, I'll quickly talk you through what we've got here, and then I'll continue doing a bit more work. So this one here was the original design that I had, so 2 splits going straight through the body like that, which I think looked okay, but there's something about it which looks quite obvious. You can just tell that I've bandsawn through that and stuck copper pipes back in there. It doesn't look very natural for something that's meant to look natural, for lack of a better word. So then from there I took inspiration from my previous base and shortened some of the cracks and made like some small singular ones along here and cracked up next to the neck here, which I think looks pretty cool. I also drew some pickups on there just to see what that would look like, and I was quite happy with it. Carried on that journey, so this one has got a through crack going right along the top, and then on the bottom here the crack's broke into 2, and I've also got one of the knots there that may become a sound hole later on from the Buckeye burr top. This one here includes some of the bark from the Buckeye burr. You know, I was just sort of scribbling on different ideas and just started refining them, and yeah, I've ended up with these ones here, which I'm sort of struggling to pick between. Again, it's a mixture of going right through the body and having 2 separate splits, so it still has a little bit of natural, so it'll still have the natural effect of these splits that don't quite meet up, and the wow factor of the body being out of 2 separate parts and only being held together by pipes. So yeah, these are the ones that I'm sort of stuck between. I've got the crack down the bottom here and the crack at the top here. Obviously, if the crack is down the bottom, I'm going to have to go through with my previous idea of wiring the pickup wires through one of the pipes and into a cavity around here. Whereas on this top one, with the split going along the top, I can just feed it around one of those splits and into a cavity there, which might be slightly easier. The other thing that I picked up from your comments in the previous video is that a lot of you liked the really gnarly top, especially with the sound hole up here. And if the split is along the top here, it means that I could make that entire section a big old cavity. The only problem is, on the renders that I was doing, I didn't scale the Buckeye burr up to its true size, so I'm not entirely sure how big this sound hole is going to be, whether it's going to be that size or whether it's going to be that size. I don't actually know if it's going to fit on the horn of that guitar, or in fact whereabouts on the horn of that guitar precisely. Now I have a scale drawing of this body shape on the computer. I'm going to do exactly the same thing with the Buckeye burr and scale it up to its true size on AutoCAD and just try and work out where that sound hole is going to locate on the top of the guitar and see how that changes the design. Right, so I have scaled up the Buckeye burr to be exactly, what was it, 412 millimeters, which is exactly what it is in real life. However, I've hit a problem. If I get the outside of the guitar and then drag that on top of the Buckeye burr, you can see we've got a bit of a problem going on there. So what I'm going to do is quickly measure the size of this. So from the horn down to the bottom, which is, let's call that 546. That on there. So yeah, if I'm looking at it from my previous base, it is a little bit smaller. I could probably get around it by offsetting the Buckeye burr like that, but then I don't get a perfect book match in the middle, which is a little bit of a bummer. Yeah, I should have really looked at this before committing to use this material for a base, because I think I'm looking at it now and thinking this might actually be for a guitar top, which is a little bit smaller. No, I think I can make this work somehow. It's just going to take a little bit of editing on the body shape by the looks of it. Right, so I've been messing around for a little bit trying to get this to work, and I reckon I can. I think it's going to be a combination of some weird orientation of these boards and just downscaling the body size a little bit. That might be possibly shortening the scale length of the neck ever so slightly. Yeah, it's just going to be a few tweaks here and there. But one of the things I thought of doing actually was book matching these in a slightly different orientation. So if I'm able to hold this with one hand, there we go. So we've got this swirly bit going on here, and if I book match it this way, slightly offset, It means that up here I'm going to have enough room for the long horn, and down here I've got enough room for the little horn. And because of the shape of the body, I'm hoping that I should be able to bridge across them like that. So this bit in the middle obviously isn't a perfect match, but that's going to be hidden under strings. There's going to be pickups there. There's going to be a lot of visual noise, should we say, hiding all of that. So I don't think it's going to be too obvious. Also up here we've got some like pale bit of the Buckeye burr, so it's not a perfect book match there. Although that is where the neck's going to be, so you're never going to see that join. And similarly down here we've got a pale bit, but that's where the bridge is going to be. So hopefully we won't see that as much. But I've decided what I'm going to do is go up to Rycotewood and make a negative template of the body shape of the guitar and make a few different scales of it. So I've got the original one, the full-size one that I want to work with, but then scale a few of them down to see if that's the compromise I need to make as well. And then I can lay that negative template over these Buckeye boards in various orientations and see if I can come to some conclusion with it. So I'm going to make the outline for the templates to start with, and the way I'm going to do that is on AutoCAD I'm going to draw a bit of paper. So we're going to make this 297 by 210 millimeters. Right, there we go. So there is an A4 bit of paper, and then I can lay that over the body. So let's make it around there, and then I can copy that and place another one here, slightly overlapping the last one, and then copy both of those and again slightly overlap it like that. So I've got 4 sheets of paper completely overlapping it, and then in this area here put some crosses. And there we go, so we've got some crosses in the areas that overlap. Let's just get rid of that bridge, we don't need that there. Now what I can do is go on print, choose your printer, A4 size, and then on what to plot you go on window. I'm going to highlight the first bit of A4, which is that corner there, and then we're not going to fit it to paper, we are going to scale it 1:1, centre the plot in there. So we've got a 1:1 scale drawing in the paper there. It says it's exceeding the edge, but that's just the borderlines on the paper here. Okay, that, and then we're going to do that for all 4 bits of paper. Then what you can do is get all of those drawings and orientate them how they are supposed to be. You can see that I've got the little cross lines there, and all we've got to do is look through the paper and line those crosshairs up with each other. So you can just sellotape that down. This works a little bit better if you have a glass table or something that you can then put... That was really silly of me. You can then put a light under the glass table, shine it up through the paper, and you can very easily see these crosshairs, but I don't have that luxury. A lot of you are asking in the previous video where my lovely walnut desk has gone. That's at my dad's house. I'm at my mum's house at the moment because this house is a little bit closer to the workshop, but right now it is reminding me as to why I made that walnut desk, because I bloody hate working on small desks like this. It's worth saying here that AutoCAD, the software I use to print this out, is an expensive bit of software. I've got it on a student version still left over from last year, which is pretty good. But a lot of drafting software actually gives you the option to print 1:1 scale, and I've definitely come across free software downloads in the past for other software, so it just takes a little bit of digging and you'll be able to do stuff like this. Right, there we go. So there is the outline of your guitar. That looks absolutely bloody massive. I need to measure that, because there's no wonder the Buckeye didn't fit onto that. That scale seems slightly wrong. As in, the scale from the computer's correct, but I think it's been drawn on the computer wrong, or I've drawn the measurements wrong on the computer, because that just looks a bit over the top. Let's look like this. God, I need a bigger desk. No, I've got like an extra 30mm to play with at the end there, so well, that's pretty good. Okay, so this is going to be our 1:1 scale, so we'll do that. So now print off maybe another 2 more of these and have 3 different versions. So this one will be the full size 1:1, and I'll do one that's 95% smaller and then maybe 90% smaller than this. And yeah, I'll go to Rycotewood and make some templates. This is going to be a nightmare. Help me out.